Yeah, I'm really glad to have Izzy on today. We're doing a podcast today about social media, the importance of it, podcasts, the whole lot. So I'm going to ask Izzy a few questions. We're going to go through it I'm hoping to get 45 minutes out if I can. But ultimately, the importance of about why we need to do this in 2024 to the versus like what we wasn't doing, people thinking the construction industry or whatever you're doing, that it's not important, but it really is. So I'm just going to ask Izzy some questions now. So when did you got into this industry? What made you get into it?
Oh, well, it all began when I first, I got handed a camera by my mum when I was about 7 or 8. We used to travel quite a lot. We used to go on holidays every year. And yeah, like I used to love just, filming and documenting people, documenting my family and having fun on vacation. And yeah, that's how, and I just fell in love with it from then. And then in terms of the editing side of things, have you ever played Pro Evolution Soccer?
To be honest with you, Izzy, I'm not really a games, but in fact, I'm not competitive at all, really.
Okay, well, basically, I used to spend like hours and hours and hours editing football kits with the Nike sponsors and the Arsenal badges and all that kind of stuff, because they didn't have the official logos for anything. So it was that combination was where I got really into, just the love of filming, editing, and then podcasting in general. I've been listening to podcasts for over 10 years now.
Just kind of touch on that, Izzy. Yeah. You was telling me today, because I got it completely wrong about podcasts on demographic ages and things, and you corrected me a few times. Yeah. So in the population, how many people do we estimate listens to podcasts in the UK?
Well, a third of UK adults listens to podcasts in the UK, so it's a massive market. And it's only going to grow and get bigger. It's been getting bigger every year.
Okay.
So if you're not in that market, it's definitely a place to be in, because there's a massive audience there that you can tap into and monetize from and provide value and knowledge and all the rest of it.
So another thing that I got wrong today, because I said to you, B2B is surely better for podcasting. I stand corrected again, because my knowledge is probably a little bit, I probably think I know more than I do. But ultimately, you said that you'll be surprised of how many people from every demographic are listening to them as adults. Now, I was shocked at that, because I thought it would be people more like mindsets on me that listen to podcasts, but that isn't the case. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's literally a podcast for everyone. Like every niche, every super niche. Like there's literally podcasts on gardening, podcasts on cooking, podcasts on all different sectors, industries, and in terms of the consumer behavior, it's like people assume that you have to have a certain mindset or avatar to kind of listen to podcasts, but in reality anyone can. And then the content made off of the back of it will come in the form of Instagram Reels or TikToks or so people will consume the same content, whether you're a business owner or a consumer. The consuming habits are literally the same.
So today we've been, some people who don't know, so today, Izzy does my podcast, by the way. So we've been doing, podcasts today. So it's kind of like doing solo podcasts. And I was finding probably 15 minutes is would you agree, a good time to try to do it for engagement? Because at that point you do start to kind of ramble a little bit after 15 minutes. That's not everybody. I'm not suggesting that's everybody, but with me. So I've been learning the podcast. So the first podcast I did was a couple of years ago, and Izzy filmed it all. It was under a different one. So he's decided to do it himself. So he started to do the podcast with the TM team. This is his little baby. It's just, I think I've got him on today because I didn't really realise how much content, and you can tell me a little bit about this in a minute, how much content that we can get from talking for 2 hours on a camera and then split that up. Would you explain to the audience what the importance is? So if someone comes and does a podcast and they have got a construction company or whatever industry they're in, how they can reuse this all over different platforms. Would you like to explain that to our audience?
Yeah, so say if you have a 1 to 2 hour podcast, if it's planned out well and it has a proper show format where you are talking about, you know, different topics and things, it can be cut into, let's say you've got the 1 to 2 hour podcast that can go out onto YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Then you can get that and create 5 to 10 10-minute YouTube clips. From then you can from that same 1 to 2 hour podcast, you can then get 30 to 40 Instagram Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts from that same content, and then you can get the audio from that
pretty endless, isn't it, really?
Transcript, and you can create written posts for LinkedIn. You can do email marketing off the back of them posts, Twitter posts, because you know you might say some really good and valuable information audio wise that, you know, you just need to translate it to text, and then there you go, there's your LinkedIn post for the month. So essentially a 1 to 2 hour podcast can create enough content for all social media platforms for the whole month. So
yeah, I mean, what I found interesting is I wasn't quite as aware as that of what you told me, so now I'm aware of that, so I'll be doing this more. But would you agree that if you do a podcast, you need to be doing consistency and showing up? I mean, I talk about showering a lot, don't I? If you don't shower, you stink. So would you say that if you're going to do a podcast, you need to commit, do it, and continue it for at least 12 months? Because if you don't do that, I mean, my experience is I did a really good one and then I dropped off, as you know, poorly. But ultimately, I'm coming back now. So I was kind of thinking, what would you say? Would you say a podcast every month and then off the back end of that, release something every week?
Yes, yeah. You should definitely be releasing content, you know, and short content every day, longer bits of content every week, and then and then you can drop a pillar piece of content every month, definitely. And yeah, consistency is key, because what will happen is people will get into the rhythm where they're familiar with what day your podcast launches. So for example, I mean, I've listened to over 10 different podcasts, but I've like
they say Sunday's the best day, don't they? They say Sunday's the best day. Is that true?
No, there's no particular best day. It's more of a case of just a rhythm. So for example, I listened to one podcast where they drop twice a week. I know they drop Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I know that it's coming, and like I'm almost, you know, Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, I'm like, it's the first thing I know that I need to listen to.
Would you say it's addictive?
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Because it's like, you know, if you like reading, I suppose these are different entertainments than if you was watching TV. This is something you can be driving down the road with on the way to work. I've got a long journey back now from where I am. It's about 2.5 hours, so I'll listen to different things. So rather than listen to the radio, I mean, I do listen to the radio, don't get me wrong, but I might do an hour of each, because ultimately it's just good to get information that you can actually pick up really easily and get a real life experience from an entrepreneur, or whatever you want to do. Like you said, gardening, it might be cooking, whatever you want to do. Yeah. You can learn some stuff. So while you're driving along, a bit of company for you can listen to it, and it's quite enlightening what you learn. I mean, I'm relatively new to listening to podcasts. You said I mean, there's probably about 10 years between us, so ultimately I'm a little bit further on, but now I'm realizing the importance of doing podcasts and ultimately going out there, because who'd have thought, this is reality, isn't it? Who'd have thought the biggest entertainment is what now? It's reality TV. People want to watch people. They're more interested in what people are doing. And if you look at the children of today, they don't even watch TV. They watch like YouTube. You know, certainly the children that I've no biological children, but I brought them up. They don't watch TV. They just listen to stuff like this. So I think the whole TV is dying, and what's growing is the podcasts, YouTube channels. And I think there's companies out there that don't think they need to do it. And I think it's so important that even if they can't afford to do a podcast, just do something yourself, you know, in your van or your car, a reel, just start getting yourself out there, because you know, there's different types of stuff. I love banter. I've decided not to be as banterous because I can just get carried away with banter. But I've decided this time I'm going to be a bit more serious. I've got so many various different personalities, people who know me, that is. So I just kind of thought it would be good to get you on today, because when I first signed up to podcasts with you guys and stuff like that, I was very, very dubious, and I was like, shit, will I be able to talk in front of a camera? But do you know what? It's not that difficult, especially when you're interviewing someone, because you've got interaction, and if you know what you're talking about. So I'm not going to surprise you with anything. So I think people need to get away from being shy from it, because if that's your speciality, you're going to be able to answer those questions. You're not going to stammer. It is nerve-wracking at first, but I've done a few now, so I wouldn't say I get nervous. It'd be different if there were 1,000 people watching me, but there possibly could be if they watch the YouTube, but it's different. So I would advise anybody of what you've told me and what you do Joe Valenti's, don't you, and with the team and stuff like that, and what he's creating. He's got a guy with him all the time, constantly creating content all the time, doing podcasts, that unfinished business that you're behind that, aren't you, and all that sort of stuff. So ultimately, it's kind of made me realise there's a local lad near me. He's doing fantastic. I've tried to get him on the podcast. I won't say his name, but he'll know who I'm talking about now. He's doing a lot of stuff, and when I've been poorly, he reignited me. I watched what he was doing. I thought, I need to get back on the horse. When I spoke to him, to get back on the horse. He's a cracking lad, and I'm trying to get him on a podcast. He does exactly what I do, but his journey's slightly different because we've all got a different story. And I think the brand of M&R, which is behind me, is well known, but it's not well known to everybody. But the more you get your brand out there, and then you can off-spin on personal brand, can't you? So we was talking about this, when we was on about my YouTube channel, weren't we?
Yeah.
Which way to go? So we've decided to have one for YouTube, one for this. The podcasts are different, but somehow we're trying to work that out, aren't we? To merge them. And I'm going to leave that up to you because you're the expert. But I think ultimately what I'm trying to put across to people is that I didn't realise it's important. It's really important, no matter what level you're at, because if you've got a story, everybody loves to tell a story. I'm going to get some guests on, as you know, we've got plans, because if you put a camera and you put a story in front of somebody, everybody loves to tell their own story, and that's why I've got you up. So a couple of things. So we've worked out that you've been into this since you was a very young child. It's your passion. So where do you see, like, in the next 3 years your career going, or can you not look that far forward, or what do you think you want? What's your passion? I know that you've got 6-7 people at the minute doing podcasts with you, or is it more?
Yeah, it's that at the moment. So my number one focus is just growing this, just growing the agency. The overall target at the moment is to get it up to 100 clients, which is like going to be.
It's not been going long though, to be fair, has it?
It's a big no.
It's not.
No, so it's
very new. I know you've been doing podcasts a long time, but it's what I'm trying to put across to people. They have got a small amount of customers at the minute, but the speed that they've got them customers is unbelievable, because they've got a huge network and they're reaching out and they're supposed to see. And so the more and more people do it. So I think what I'm trying to say is to give you a bit of marketing here, is that now's the time to get in.
100%. Now is definitely the time to get in, create. Doing a podcast is the most cost-effective, the best way in terms of creating content in bulk, and for your social media. And I know, a lot of businesses say, I don't need social media, but obviously, as a business, you want to build your brand, and social media is the driving force behind it, basically. And in 2024, you can control your message, which is so important. So you are in complete control in terms of what messaging you want to put out in, to the marketplace, basically. So people do need to utilize it, and podcast is the perfect way of doing that, showing, providing value, showing your knowledge and expertise in your respective field. So
I think another thing I picked up on, I can't remember who said it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not name dropping. It might have been Charlie Mullins that said this. One of the mentors did say it to me. That, when they was young and they had to get PR and TV, it might not have been him, but I think it was. PR had to get TV. Now, you genuinely have got an audience. TV is fantastic and still a fantastic way of doing it, but it's very expensive. Whereas you can do this, build your own brand, do it. And if you look at the people that have done it and been successful in it, they're huge. And that was all down to using the social media networks, because this is free technically, although you pay for you guys to do it and process it. But you're not paying a TV to air it, because it's being aired on a channel. And then hopefully, if you're doing it particularly on YouTube and you get thousands of hits, you get paid. So how good's that?
Yeah.
So ultimately, you've got to believe in yourself and talk about interesting things. I mean, I'm very, very new to this, but I've been around it quite a lot because I've had mentors that do it and have advised me to get PR and get more involved. Like I said, I've had a massive kick up my arse because now I'm better, and I've seen it 2 years ago. I'd have continued doing this. Now I feel like I'd have been absolutely popping now, but I just fell off because I was poorly. And I think now I'm really ready to go back to it. And I think working with Izzy is going to be great because I've known Izzy for a couple of years anyway. We've been loads of events, and we've been to Marbella together, haven't we, and stuff like that. And had, really good parties. Amazing experience. That if anyone wants to go on that, you need to get in contact because that is a really good event. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that where we met the mentors. They was all talking about it, about how important it is. If you look at what was he called, the other mentor that came, Alfie Best. He was saying about the PR importance of how you need to be. I mean, he's popping him now, isn't he? And he's I think he's relatively new. I think he is to this because I don't think he was doing much of it before that, was he?
Yes, I think he is. Like he's getting a bit more
recognised. 100%.
Yeah.
He's rolling now. He's moved to Monaco. I follow him. I watch him. Very interested in guy. Check him out. He's done fantastic well. I met his son at one of the podcasts. Another really interesting lad. I feel like once you start doing this, the education and the people that you meet, it's like if you want to get out if you want a hobby or you want to do something rather than go pub or whatever, this is a really good thing to get into because it does make you feel good. It feels better. You listen back. People say to you, "Wow, it's fantastic what you were saying. I didn't know this about you. Didn't know that about you." You're basically getting your story out. So, it's like the most important thing I've realised is from you guys especially is you've just got to keep being consistency. Consistency is key. Would you agree with that?
100%. It's definitely key. Everything now is about attention, marketing, and consistency. And what you want to do is you want to feed people the right content where they get into a rhythm and it becomes part of their daily or weekly or monthly routine to consume your content. You want like people to get excited for it and kind of like ready for the next episode. It's very, no matter how big you are, if you were to stop putting out content for a month or two, and it will have a significant impact on your business and brand because like the world is moving faster and faster and faster, and literally you can be forgotten about very
attention span of people
quickly.
Has dropped so much, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it something like 5 seconds now? It's something stupid, isn't it? When they go on to a pause in 5 seconds or TikTok, whatever
less than
it
that
is.
probably.
Yeah, but it's
2-3
crazy.
seconds, yeah.
And like you said, it's quite mind-numbing really to think that that's what's happening, but ultimately that is what's happening. So what you're saying is, if you don't get on the wave now, you need to be ahead of the curve, we call it.
Yeah, definitely. So podcasts are definitely the future because like if we were to compare back in the days, it was the TV and radio, or the internet's killing TV and people
even
are
the radio
opting.
stations have podcasts, don't they? Even
podcasts are gonna kill radio because with radio you're kind of forced to listen to whatever they have. With podcasts, you choose what you want to listen to. Like the consumer has the power.
Do you know I'd love to get on mine would be the Fat Ball Builders. I love them. You watch them, they're really good. I'd love to reach out to them and just get them on. That would be a giggle.
Go for it. Reach out for them.
Yeah.
See what happens.
They'd be a giggle. They'd be a giggle because they're funny. When they do the debates and stuff like that. They're part of Things Radio, aren't they? But again, them concepts have all come from attention. They were plumbers, whatever they was doing. I'm sure they don't do that now because they're making money out of doing that. Yeah. And when you get to a specific age in a trade, I still love and passionate about this trade. But you do think about, do you know what? I could just, because something you're doing day in and day out, this is fun. This is fun, isn't it? You've got... We're sat here now, we've got a team of people filming us, we've had a bit of a giggle and a laugh, a bruise or what have you, and it's quite good I think it's good for your health as well, your mental health, but because the gratification that I get from it when someone texts me saying, brilliant that Mick, or you're walking, and someone's like, that was fantastic what you said, so you're getting the gratification from it. I know you're probably going to get haters, but you just blank them out. That's how it is, isn't it? So what would you recommend to say, a one-man band that's turning over 150 grand that can't afford to do a podcast, where would you start him off? What would you be thoughts? Would you be like, well, I think what you need to do is get a phone, get a clamp on your car, start talking into the camera, get used to it. I've learned something today. One of your guys is pulling me shirt down, how I should fold my arms, how I should stand, and how to look at the camera. I didn't even know this, that this is important about how your structure is and how you're standing, etc. Because the camera does a lot of lying, doesn't it? It doesn't, it gives the truth, but ultimately you don't see it when you're physically in front of somebody, because I can see, but when you're on a camera, you look rigid, you look awkward, or whatever you do. It's just hard to be natural on it. So what would you advise them who are scared about it? I don't think the younger ones are, but say somebody in the 30s now that have got just set their own business and they might be a little bit afraid to do it. What would you recommend the starting point is?
Yeah, so just you said about using your phone, and it's realizing that you are in control of it. So so if you do want to practice by filming yourself through your phone, you could literally do it 10, 20, 30, 40 different times just to kind of practice and get used to talking to a camera, because it is, 99% of the time I'm behind the camera anyway. But so being in front of it, I know it is different, but just with anything, the more you practice and the more you apply yourself, the easier it's going to be and the more natural it's going to be, to the point where you're not even going to realize it's there, or it's going to be really simple just to pull out your phone and talk about a specific topic or subject about
it's basically
anything,
getting
really,
comfortable with yourself, isn't it? I suppose, and
and
actually
with
believing
yourself.
in yourself a little bit, perhaps. Believing that you can do it, because I think a lot of people, myself included, I've always had a gob on me, to be honest with you. I've always been able to talk, and I've always had a bit of confidence, to be fair. But when I first come doing this, you filmed me first, and I think I was a little bit nervous. I can't remember. I was.
I think I was. Yeah,
definitely, because I didn't know what to expect. Now I know what to expect. I know what it's all about, and I've really enjoyed today. We've had a good buzz. It's been an eye opener again, because it's brought me back into the mindset that I really want to do that, and I could be, this could be part of my journey. Well, it is going to be part of my journey, so I'm excited to see where that goes. And I know I'm committed fully to it. I've had to commit because Izzy's a big lad. If you look at the size of us, I don't want one of them off him. So ultimately, no, I won't be letting him down. So
a lot forcing you.
Yeah.
No, but on a real though, we are looking to build your podcast and build your brand and get it to where it needs to be. So I'm looking forward to that journey, looking forward to being a part of, getting on guests and different ways of marketing it, to get the maximum results, to build, help build your brand. So yeah.
I think I've been listening to, is it Tyler? What's he called? Tyler Trades? Is it Tyler Does Trades or?
Tyler Does Trades. Yeah. When he came down here.
But I've been listening to him. He's really good, and I've been watching him, and he's kind of grown. And I couldn't believe he's interviewing Charlie Mullins. I'm like, bloody hell, he's done really well to do that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how he's doing that, and he's gone all in on it. And do you know what? I was like watching him, and you watch other people.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that really interesting. So I think what I'm trying to get at is people might find me interesting. So I think it's definitely about believing in yourself, having the confidence to show up, to do it. I mean, what have you got to lose? You've got nothing to lose, really, have you? Apart from gain. And as well, it's great because it gives you confidence in your whole life. If you can speak in front of a camera or speak in front of people, I've only done small public speaking, but it's given me confidence to be able to speak. Whereas, when we was going to, say, for instance, Worcester, and they'd be like, can you tell us up and tell us a bit? I get up now and give them my whole story, and then the lads who are with me say, oh, Mick, you don't need to say anything because you've told, and they just go, I work for him. So basically, because they don't like doing it. But I think ultimately, this is something that I could probably naturally get into. I don't feel nervous. I feel comfortable and relaxed. Especially around you and the team you've got. It's absolutely great. And I think our journey is going to be good. And I think what I was trying to get at when I invited you on is I wanted you to basically say that everyone's got to, well, you can say it yourself, but I think the impression I've got from you guys, everyone's got to start somewhere. You've got to have faith and trust in yourself, because if you don't get in now, is it fair to say that you might miss the bandwagon?
Yeah, down the line, it will become more and more of a saturated market. So it's good to establish yourself as a leader in your sector or field, and and get ahead of the curve, definitely. 100%.
Yeah, because it's like actors, isn't it? That the actors that are really good. There's tons of actors about, but the old boys and the actors that really stick out in your mind, you never forget. They was in, especially in my lifetime. But I don't know. It's probably been going for like 150 years of theatre acting and stuff like that. But it's not been televised for that long, has it?
No.
So ultimately, what I'm trying to get at, if you get in now, you'll get ahead of the curve because everything's moving on, and then people will get overwhelmed and probably it'll be too late, and they'll be like, oh, I'm not getting into it now because there's no point because everyone's doing it.
Yeah,
but if you're one of the original ones, you might have a levy of 5 years where it's not, because I do think that especially the construction industry and what we do is seriously untapped. There's only about five that I can think of.
Yeah, that are really big.
And even like, like a mechanic or, do you know what fascinates me? When you go on and you watch bricklayers and they're laying bricks and you want to see the views, you're like, that is mad. Or,
the views are great,
so I shared a post with my friend's company. He's got a pressure cleaning service called Jamie. He's based in Bolton, and he's power washing all the front of our showroom. And I put it on, and the amount of views that we got was insane. What he did get a lot of haters saying, oh, you've not done this, not done that, but bollocks to that. You're going to get that. In fact, what was learning yesterday about that haters are good. Matt Fidesz said haters are good. They're brilliant. They paid for his Lamborghini. Fantastic. So ultimately, you've got to think these things that, there was one suggestion that people said yesterday, I don't know if you remember, are you not scared because there's people that are taking antidepressant pills now because they're haters? And that's when Matt Fidesz come in and said, no, this is how it should be. Because I think that's going to be a problem for people because they're going to care what people think. I don't give a fuck, and I'm sorry for swearing, I actually don't. If you don't, you don't listen to it. I'm not forcing it to. So ultimately, I think personally that what you guys are doing is very lucrative because you've got, I won't get into your systems, your process operations, but ultimately I've been with you guys for about 2 or 3 years now, and I've learned a lot. Did I need you? I don't know. Did I want you? Yeah, that's the difference. So I committed, I did it, and then we fell off when I was poorly, but I'm back on now. Just before we close this up, is there any tips you could give for a school leaver that wants to get into a trade, how they can start? And this is a very difficult question, this for you. They could probably stand out about, is that going to be a thing where, you send your CV, do you think, can you foresee it being, well, just send me a podcast or just send me, will it go digital? Do you ever foresee that happening?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, in the creative field anyway, so for example, so I have a degree in media production. That degree has never taken me anywhere. I'm not, like, people don't care about that. People just want to visually see what can you do. So what you would send as a creative is a show reel, just an example of work.
Did you actually learn a lot from your degree?
No, no. It's all YouTube. Like the majority of what I've learned just in self-taught on YouTube and other resources, and being like mentored by certain.
Well, that's another topic that I could talk about that with you all day about schools and the way it all does. I left school with absolutely zero, nothing, told I'd be a complete loser. My story is very, very similar to a lot of people in our industry. I left school because I'm dyslexic, ADHD, all them sort of things. Can't off a blackboard, it's impossible, all that sort of stuff. But what I can do is talk and express and do this, and I learned everything by touch, feel, and that sort of stuff. So even now, if you go out for food with me, I was out last night and someone said, what do you want? I said, what are you having? They're like, well, I look at the menu, I'm like, no, I'll just get what you're having, because the menu's just, I can't explain it to people who've not, but this is a really good way of getting your point across without having to do an email or, what I'm trying to say is that it's real, isn't it? It's,
like you need to see exactly what's going on to be like, yeah, cool, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and definitely. Like that's the issue with school and education in general. Everyone has all different types of ways of learning, consuming information, and the way that it's one size fits all. Honestly, like I think school or university and I feel like it's only beneficial if you're doing very specific
doctor,
degrees,
solicitor.
If it's not that, there's just no point. Like honestly, like you're better off doing some sort of apprenticeship or something where you're just very hands-on and can get work experience.
But even to go to you touched on, I brought doctors, but even a doctor will tell you when they first start, they technically get thrown out after 7 years, I think it is, or it might be 5 now, I don't know what it is, but they're learning. There's an analogy that I use all the time. So they'll say, oh, he's gas safe. I'm like, that's fantastic, he's gas safe, what's his experience, what can he do? Well, he's gas safe. I'm like, well, if you had a 17-year-old that had the same driving license as you, would you let him drive your brand new Ferrari? The answer to that is no. Why? He's still qualified as you. experience. So what you're saying is the
That's a good
university doesn't give you the experience, actually hands-on, learning about it, pain and sweat and hard work. I don't care. I don't believe there's anything else but hard work. You know, there's a lot of people on Instagram and saying, oh, mindset's perfect. You've got to have the right mindset. You understand that and manifest. But you can't just sit there manifesting like people think you can. It's going to appear. You've got to.
Really,
people talk about luck, and I don't believe in luck. I think you create your luck. I used to call. You look at all the people who are doing like, it's a lucky bastard. He's got all birds or whatever. It's not really that. It's because he puts himself in a position, or she does, to get that. Yeah. So I think that's where I go with mindset. So I think like the podcasts are going to help me to get my mindset right, because I'm going to get people on that I'm interviewing asking the questions, absorbing it. Am I doing the podcast for everybody else? No, I'm doing it for myself, because ultimately I want to learn, and then obviously I can then share it with others. But
which is important. I think you do need to do it for yourself first, or have like the passion to, okay, I'm doing this and it's very purpose driven. Otherwise you might prioritize other things over it and stuff. But you know, like you need to get what you need to get from it first, and then like everything else. To be fair, it's all just win anyway. So you're learning from it. You feel good doing it. Content is going out there, and it's building your like brand. So it's all good, really. Yeah.
Have you got anything as a wrap it up now? Anything to add, or do you think I've covered everything? Is there any little tip or anything you can add now? I'm going to close it up shortly, but you tell me. Then this will be then we'll close it up after this. What are you thinking? I know I'm putting you on spot, but
I would end this. Yeah, just overall in general,
just do something. If anything, do something.
Yeah, like there's a lot of businesses that feel like it's too late to enter the social media world, or it's too late to create content. Yeah, like there's like now is the time.
Was it
100%.
McDonald's that set up his business at 62 and created that brand? So you kind of could look at it that way, I suppose. That the biggest brand.
That Ray guy. Was it Ray, the founder of the movie? And he franchised McDonald's. Well,
I've not watched the
McDonald's.
film.
The film's amazing.
Yeah, I've not watched the film. If I'm honest, I just know a little bit about it. I just thought I'd throw that in there for the older guys that think that they're not ready, or they can't, or they're past it. It's bollocks that, and it's just an excuse, guys. So I'm going to wrap it up now. Thanks, Izzy, for coming on. I've really enjoyed this conversation. And everybody, don't forget, get yourself on a podcast, do some social media, but most importantly, do not get left out in the cold. Cheers, guys.